the question, are humans disposable? I've observed patterns in the world where the world displays disregard for human life. But what do you think? What is the real value of a human life? I'll start with my story and how it all came to be. It started on May 9th, 2006, in a small impoverished orphanage in Diyang, Sichuan, China, which is near the city of Chengdu. I was brought to the orphanage at 2 days old on a cloudy day, and at the time I had a birth defect known as a cleft lip and palate, which basically meant I had a large chasm that merged my nose and my mouth together, complicating my ability to eat food. Due to the poor area, there is not a lot of food, and so my main diet consisted of sugar water, and that drastically stunted my growth. So by the time I was a year old, I was still the size of a newborn. So if you've ever wondered why I'm so short, it could be my genetics, my early infantry, or my general aversion to milk. I don't know much about my birth parents, but what I have been taught to honor the belief that they risked their life for me. Because I was born during China's one-child policy, and the consequence of this decree was that lots of families were pressured to give up their children if they had more than one, or if their child was a girl. So some reasons why my parents may not have been able to raise me is because I was a girl, maybe I had other siblings, or my birth defects could have had costly health care for my parents. And so during that time, it was extremely dangerous for someone to send their child to an orphanage or try to keep their child. And so at the time, it would have likely been easier for my parents to abort me. But no, they decided not to, and they decided to risk their life for me so that I may have a better future than what they could have offered. And for that, I'm extremely grateful for my parents and their sacrifice. And so they sent me to the orphanage, and after a few days, I was discovered by my new American parents, who are my parents now. And so I was brought home October 1st, 2007, and about 3 to 4 months after I was brought home, my parents started the adoption process. And that took roughly 5 years for them to officially complete. And during that time, I was given extreme love and care from my parents, but also from my siblings and my extended family, and getting to experience so many new memories that I wouldn't have. And so, by the end of about 2011 to 2012, I was officially an American citizen and part of the Belcher family. And so, at that point, I'm now an American citizen, and my story is a testament to the fact that there are so many individuals and their decisions to bring me to this place. And my parents took a chance on a random Chinese girl in the middle of nowhere, China, 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, and here I am on a stage now, and they're having a lot of decisions that were meant to bring me here. Had my parents not decided to give me up, or if my birth parents had decided to abort me, I wouldn't be here. And so I'm extremely grateful for that they gave me that chance. And so a while later, while I was scrolling on Instagram, I saw a quote from the quote circles that said, in order to be born, you needed 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents, 32 third-great-grandparents, 64 fourth-great-grandparents, 128 fifth-great-grandparents, 256 sixth-great-grandparents, 512 seventh-great-grandparents, 1,024 eighth great-grandparents, and 2,048 ninth great-grandparents. Over the past 12 generations, spanning approximately 400 years, you needed a total of 4,094 ancestors to come into existence. We are the result of thousands of life choices and sacrifices that came before us. This reminds us of how precious and unique our existence is. I believe that many people tend to take their lives for granted when in reality all it takes is one decision and you could not even be born. So why is your life and my life so valuable? Well, we as social creatures, we are in a web of relationships demonstrated in our roles in society, such as family members, as consumers, as producers, as all of the different roles that you have in your life. And so we are valuable to each aspect of our society. For instance, to our nation, we are valuable because we are taxpayers for those countries who pay taxes. And we make up our military, and which increases our general national security. In terms of creativity, while our world is so beautiful, there's so much architecture that we see around us that humans have created. None of that is necessary for our survival, but it creates enjoyment and prosperity in our life. In our economy, we trade and we create new inventions. We have new ways of doing things from all the past information we've learned from our past generations. And through the science field, we're constantly creating new ways to cure things and creating new machines to catch diseases earlier on. And so we are valuable in each and every part of those aspects. And furthering the science field, according to the American College of Pediatricians, they define the definition of when human life starts or a human being as a complex structure of interdependent and subordinate elements whose relations and properties are largely determined by their function in the whole and an individual constituted to carry on the activities of life by means of organs separate in function but mutually dependent. A living being. Now, with that definition in mind, my definition is that when the male cells and the female cells merge together, they create an embryo. And that supposed clump of cells is no longer just a clump of cells, but a human being, a person that has potential in life. And so we've talked about how we're valued in society, but who determines your value? Well, we could say it's your peers, your family, your economy, if you work a job. There's lots of people who could determine your value, but I believe that a creator determines our value. And so, philosopher William Paley once used the watchmaker analogy to say that just as a watch is, so if a watch magically came into existence, we wouldn't think that the watch didn't have a creator, because the watch is much too complicated of a machine to not have a creator. And so just as the watch has a purpose, we have a purpose. We have a creator. Because if we have no purpose, then what point is it that we're on this earth? Why are we here? Well, some people may still be looking for their purpose, and maybe they need to find it, but I know that I have a purpose and work to do and a hope for a better future and a better tomorrow. Because every beating heart cries out to the world its birthright to validly lay claim to its inherent value. Meaning that everyone has value, no matter who you are. And our purpose to me means to live an ethically and morally satisfying life in accordance with either your philosophy, your culture, your religion, and government. So I've talked about ways we are valued, but there are ways we have been devalued that I've noticed in the world. In terms of large scale in the past, there's been wars, and there's been times where we send thousands of troops of men to go to war just for those lives. So, just for those lives to just be sent away. And each of those men had their own purpose and their own potential. And let's also consider the conversation of slavery, which is the act of owning another human as property. And while it is unfortunately still practiced illegally and illegally in today's day and age, each of those humans also had potential and they had innate value. And their value comes from their work they've done, but also that their value was taken away, but not necessarily. Because consider the concentration camps under Hitler's rule. So Auschwitz survivor and philosopher Viktor Frankl once said in his memoir, Man's Search for Meaning, he said that even though they took away our freedom, they can never take away our value, because you will always have value in your free will. You can't control your situation, but you can control how you react to your situation. And so those are examples of past times where we've devalued human life. But what about current day? Well, we all have social media. And what I think some of us don't realize is those who watch our videos, we just see numbers on a screen. But in reality, each one of those numbers is someone personally being influenced by what we post. And sometimes that's not a good thing. And so while we are not all large content creators, we all influence one another through each decision and the way we talk to somebody and how we interact with people. And all the interactions we make a ripple effect. And everyone has their own stories that are just, well, imagine being on a crowded bus. We have so much technology that we can talk to whoever we want. We're closer than we've ever been. And yet, I've noticed that when you get on a crowded bus, people try their very hardest to not talk to people. And so there are so many people where their stories are just bursting to be told if someone would talk to them. And so everyone has their own value. So we are all born with an innate value and purpose, as is evident in every interaction we have in life. Whether we are put in hardships like wars, or if we're a number behind a screen on social media, we are all valued in this race we call life. No matter your gender, your social background, your economic status, or so on, we are all to be valued because we all contribute something in this world, and we all affect another in some way. Humans are indeed not disposable, but far from it. The value of a human life is limitless and cannot be contained to a certain value. Just as I was shown love and value from my birth mother and then from my mother today, it shows that everyone in this world is valued and means something to someone, because decisions and battles were fought to bring you here. Thank you.